Am I good? All right, fantastic. Hey everybody, I'm Cody Gibson. Thanks for tuning in today. We've got we have, as of last count, 1,506 registered for the webinar. Thank you so much. I'm humbled that you would show up to listen to what we're going to talk about. Couple things. Can somebody please type in the little box where you can ask questions or make comments and let us know that you can hear me and see me well on your side, that everything is cool. We always wonder on our side, we've done these webinars for a long time and we'll get 10 minutes in and somebody will email me or call me or text me on my phone and say, we can't hear a single thing you're saying. So it sounds like we're cool. Throughout the webinar, depending on how many people are logging in at any one time, this system sometimes will stop sharing video. Is that right, Lacey? And so what happens on our end, if it goes blank, it just means that like 15 people just hopped on. I don't know why it does that, though all we have to do is click a button that says share video again. So as far as I know, audio stays on, right? So audio stays on. So if you see the screen go black on your side, it's simply that we have to click a button to share the video again and we'll go right back to it. So, all right, so here we are, right? Everything has changed, regardless of what you think or don't think. Politics around it, opinions around it, this way, that way, like none of it really matters. And of course, if you're watching this, you're undoubtedly a real estate agent. And I've been thinking these last 3 or 4 days, like what on earth should a real estate agent be doing right now? Like what's our play? What do we do? How do we help? How do we mobilize our communities? How do we mobilize our databases? How do we keep business moving? I mean, at the end of the day, we all chose an industry, you and I did, that's been quite good to me. I've worked hard at it and it's been really good to me too. And we're in this industry where we have an unlimited amount of earning potential. At the same time, if you have an unlimited ceiling, you also have an unlimited floor. And regardless of how we feel, like we have to keep selling homes. You and I are in an industry where our brokerage, regardless of affiliation or franchise or broker or name or brand, we're not paid just to be here, like we're paid to do business. And this last 4 or 5 days has been very interesting as far as speculation and what's going to happen or not happen. I was selling real estate which makes me feel so old. I was selling real estate when 9/11 happened. And this is nothing like that time, and that time is nothing like this time. Though the similarity is like this strange feeling right after of what do we do? Like what's the new norm? What does it look like right now? What is business as normal? What is business as usual? And what you might find is that during this time, you might find that you take some massive steps forward in your business. Now, massive steps forward in your business might not be the massive steps forward that we would have defined a month ago or 2 months ago or even 10 days ago. I mean, right now, it's like every time you look at your phone or every time you update social media or go to the internet machine, like there's some new thing closing. I mean, right now, you're realizing just how many companies have your email addresses, right? And you're getting like email addresses all day long with all the updates of what everyone's doing around the virus right now, right? Cleaning practices and best practices, and nothing wrong with any of that. Today, of course, is specific to the real estate agent. My thoughts on what I'd be doing right now, my thoughts on what I am doing right now. My group today, United Home Group, we've worked so hard and we've moved forward, we've moved backwards. I mean, we've learned as we've gone, just like you do. In this time that you're in right now, during this challenge or this pandemic or this issue or this social awareness issue or social distancing. I mean, who even knew what social distancing meant 10 days ago? And of course, now it's a household term. And what do you do? What don't you do? Here's my thoughts on it. I think the first is some perspective around this. Remember, it's the event that got canceled. It's the church group that doesn't meet this Sunday because it's too big. It's the wedding that you were going to go to that no longer. A friend of mine was getting married next month, and the wedding venue, of course, emailed and said, "We're so sorry, we can't hold it. You'll have to go somewhere else or do something different or postpone or reschedule or cancel or whatever." And of course, it's thing after thing after thing. It's the St. Patty's Day party that got canceled. I think that it's important just to stop for a second and breathe and remember that it's the events that got canceled. It's the Broadway show you were going to see that's no longer happening. Your life didn't get canceled though. Your family's not postponed. Your goals aren't canceled. Your dreams aren't put on hold. None of those other things are affected by that. They are changed by that or shifted by that. Though just keep the perspective around it that it's that was canceled, postponed, or delayed or changed. It is not your life. You know what's not postponed? Kindness. You know what's not canceled? Caring about other people. You know what's not put on ice or put on hold or rescheduled for a later day? Doing the right thing. And you know, when we look at our businesses, right, we don't always know the right step 200 steps from now. We don't always know the very right thing to do later. We always know the very next right step. Like, what's the step that we would take right this very second? What does that step look like? And I think for each one of us, what's important is to take that next step, that one step, especially in times of darkness, especially in times where we don't know or we're sure of what's going on. Take that step and, damn it, bring a flashlight with you and show others and say, listen, I'm right here, come with me, let's go together. And you understand that in a time like this, everyone's a leader. In a time like any time, everyone's a leader. It's just these times that we all stop and pause and recognize and realize how much each one of us is a leader. So as real estate agents, here's some ideas around this, right? You are still 100% in the people business. People haven't changed. The conversations look different, though people are still people. People are still motivated by what people are motivated by. And the challenge around it is this. If you're in the people business, you're also in a likability business. So here's some don'ts first, right? So for all my friends who are real estate agents checking this out, 1,500 of you, couple of things. Quit it. Like I would tell you 0 opinions. I don't think that it matters. I think that if you're a real estate agent and you help the public, I think that right now it is not your place. It's not my place to say, here's what I think about this. It's not my, I think people are overreacting. It's not my place to say, I think people are underreacting. It's not my place to say this or this or this. If it does, listen, here's my filter for it. If it can help every single person without polarizing anyone, without making anybody wrong or feel wrong, then yes, it's probably appropriate. If it makes one person feel wrong, or if it makes some people feel wrong, or if it doesn't help everyone at one time, it's probably inappropriate. It's probably not something that needs to be said. And you know, that's maybe an unpopular opinion among some of my friends who are realtors, and that's fine. And I want to remain your friend. I'll still be here. If one of us moves away, it won't be me. My opinion, though, that as a business leader, I would say, quit it. Like none of the opinions. I don't think it's your place to say it. I think it's your place to every single word that you utter, every word that you type. I think right now, does it help everyone? Answer yes, do it. Answer no, don't do it. Save it for a different day. Now, some of you know me really well, and you know that I'm one of the first people to be antagonistic or to say, well, I think this, or to stir up a conversation or to have a difference of opinion. I'm usually the first person to do it, just not today. So here's also what I know about right now. Regardless of what's happened, like you think about it, like I was on another webinar this morning and I related it to this. You think about the game of football, right? You look at football, the way that you win the game has never changed. You still have to get the ball into the end zone. You still have to get the ball over the uprights. That's never changed. That's been the same the whole damn time. The only thing that's ever changed is how you play the game. Do you play with more of a run game? Do you play more of a pass game? Are you more grind down the defense? Are you this? Are you this? Do you use trick plays? Do you run the? It doesn't matter. You know, can you hit the person above or below the shoulders? Like all those rules, all they do is change how you play. It does not change how you win. You still have to score. And so you think about it like being a real estate agent. Remember, again, we just keep clicking this button on our side. We have no idea why GoToMeeting does this, and we just keep clicking it. So we're all learning together. You still have to get the ball into the end zone. And so you think about it in our world, we still have to get closings across the closing table. Now, we have an uncertain time, right? In some cities, some counties, some municipalities, different in every place. Some of the recorders' offices have already stopped working and said, hey, you know, we're on hold for 10 days or 15 days. We can't record new transactions. You can't close, which brings me to one of the first tips I want to give you. Now, this is going to be different for every brokerage. It's going to be different for every city and every state. There's all kinds of rules everywhere. Though one of the things I know that we have a commonality in is that if you're a real estate agent somewhere, you have a designated broker or a broker in charge or a managing broker. It's a different term everywhere. I'm just going to use the term broker as in supervising broker, whoever's in charge that the state would see. So here's what I do know. So we've already done ours in Oregon, where I own a company, and we've already done ours in Arizona, where I own a real estate company as well. The broker needs to help you, and you need to go there and say, listen, what's our verbiage right now around delays around COVID? Like what's our verbiage? What do we put into the contracts that automatically keep us in contract? You know, what preset determinations do we have between the buyer and the seller? Should this happen? Will this happen? The one that we did in Oregon this morning, I think, was 2 paragraphs. It wasn't a whole lot, and our attorney looked at it and said, this is the best we can do right now, has specific language around it. So I think number one is a fiduciary for all of your current clients and customers that you're already in a legal representation contract with. You got to have that. So your broker probably already has it or is already working on it, or maybe you're a managing broker and you're like, oh yeah, I got to get that done. So go get it done. Got to get that taken care of. Remember, in times of crisis, right? Crisis could mean danger and opportunity at the same time. And for sure, like our entire country, our entire world is in some type of crisis. Now, we could all kick the ball around about how long it lasts or what it means, or, you know, when do we get back to normal? And I do know this, when we do get back to normal, it won't be the same normal. It's always going to be different. It's kind of like that old saying, right? Like once a mind has been expanded or stretched, it can't go back to the way it was. You can go back to habits, you can't go back to thinking though. You can't change that. So we do know that. All right, so here's some other don'ts, right? And I'm gonna ping pong around a little bit back and forth. Some other don'ts that I would say, we had camera again. Some other don'ts would be this. This isn't the time that you hop on the internet and say, hey, call me to buy or list your home, or to help you buy or list, sell or list, sorry. This isn't the time to do that. I don't think this is the time that you go on Facebook and say, hey everybody, interest rates are super low, 50-year low, please contact me today. I don't think that's your play. I don't think that's it. Like, I mean, I'm not doing that. I don't think there's anything wrong though. I don't know. I'll just say it. I think that's probably wrong. I don't think the industry or the community around you needs to hear that or even gives a damn anyway. If you would like to market, and I think that you should, I think it's about how do you market today. I do think it's about the marketing message of the moment. Like you've got the message and you've got the method. Like that's never changed. The message does change over time and the method changes over time. So today, like right now, you look at today, this week, next month. I don't know what next month looks like. I don't know what tomorrow looks like necessarily in some ways, but I do know this. I've got a message and a method. And the only thing I need to figure out is what does it need to be today? So if you're going to market today, here's what I think you should do. I don't think that you should say, contact me right now to list your home. It's a great time to sell. I don't think that's the play. I do think that you could find a seller who's motivated, who just sold their home, and you could tell their story. You can say, hey, everybody, wanted to let you know that Mr. and Mrs. Johnson, they just sold their home this weekend. We had 15 extra people. In Portland, we held an open house on one of our listings in Portland where, like, I live and work directly, even though our team works in 110, 112 cities. Where I live and work directly in Portland, we had an open house that had 50 or 60 visitors through it. Now, this is a polarizing conversation. Some of you would say we shouldn't be doing open houses. Some say that we should. I'm not here to tell you what's right or wrong there, though you got to choose something, right? So I just want you to know, we held an open house. One of our partners had 50 or 60 people through it, sold the home with multiple offers, well over full price. Like those stories still exist. Those stories still happen. So if I'm a marketer, I might go online and say, hey, wanted to let you know, this home had 50 extra people through the open house or 80 people through the open house, and we sold it with multiple offers over full price. Awesome job. Congratulations to my clients. Nothing wrong with that, right? Like that's way better than call me to list your home. Like you've got to be more creative than that. And I love jokes. Like I love jokes. I love a good meme. So if you've got one, send it to me. Trust me, I want to see it. I don't know that I want to see it on your Facebook wall. I don't know that I want to see it on your Instagram wall. I don't know that the right play is to say, hey, think about all the babies that are born 9 months from today. And if you need a bigger home, then let me know. Now, some of my very good friends have posted those. Nothing wrong with that. And if you're getting away with it now, cool, it's fine. I don't think that's the best play tomorrow. I don't think that it's necessarily the time to make jokes, even though I love the laughter, even though I do love the humor around it. And if you're going to make jokes and create laughter, and I think you should, choose something other than your real estate profession directly. Because the truth is, your buyers and sellers, I think they see right through it. And I think they see that it's a thinly veiled message of contact me to list. So again, we could agree or disagree here. I just think it's important. I think it's important exactly what you say. One of the greatest things I saw today was, it was just a question, and it said, I want you to think a year from now. Looking back, in fact, it was my friend Erica Hill, who owns a brokerage in Boise. She said, I want you to think a year from now about how you're operating, what you're saying, and what you're doing today. Will you be proud of your actions, words, and contributions today, 1 year from now? And I think that's an important filter for each of us, right? So here's what I also know is this. What are the needs out there right now? So if you're an agent, you want to do business, what are the needs? One of the greatest things you could think is to go find a need and provide a solution for it. As long as you're a business person and you're providing solutions to needs, you're going to find business. Lead generation can't stop right now. However, like the webinar I did this morning was titled Lead Generate with Heart. Now you can lead generate with heart. That doesn't mean to let go of strategy. So I'm gonna give you some great strategies. I've got maybe 25 cards written with strategies that I wanna give you today too, things that you can tactically go and do, put your teeth into right now and use tomorrow. So here's what we do know. We do know that there's some basic needs in your community, right? Regardless of where you are, there's a community need around childcare, around the basics, around food, around, silly as it is, around toilet paper, right? Like one of my friends, got a whole bunch of toilet paper, which I'm not sure you could do it today, though maybe you did before. Got a whole bunch of toilet paper, and she wrapped it up like with a business card and said something like, and I thought it was kind of cheeky and funny. She delivered it to 20 or 30 of her closest clients and said, hey, we don't just cover your real estate needs, we cover your backside too. Just kind of a fun play, right? Something that would probably never play 4 months ago and might not play 4 months from now, though it could be a message of the moment, like something kind of fun, something kind of cool, something that would be a need. You know, it might be another friend of mine posted and said, listen, if you or anybody you know needs help running errands right now, if you know an elderly person or you know someone who's at a high risk category and they're afraid to go to the grocery store or can't or whatever, just call me. I'll do it for you and I'll bring it to your door. I'll leave it there. Don't have to talk. Don't have to ask any questions. Another friend of mine said, listen, if I can help with organizing, so like Janice Hall up in Vancouver, Washington, just north of me in Portland, what she's doing is she's organizing a bunch of people in her database saying, listen, you're now like, you know, at-home teachers, like you've got your kids home from school. The state of Washington canceled school for like 6 weeks. And so what she's doing is she's saying, listen, maybe we could organize a group of people, 10 or 20, and we take shifts and we say, listen, you know, you watch this group of kids from, you know, 9 to noon, and then this mom or dad will watch the kids from 1 to 4 or whatever. And, you know, maybe that's an idea that you could implement in your business. Now, when you look at that, and I shared that with someone late last night, and they went, well, yeah, but what about the liability with it? Like, what would they sign? I don't know. I do know this, you could probably figure something out. The first thing you do is you figure out the need and how to solve it. Then the details around it. So don't let the details stop you from a great idea. If it's a great idea, go put it out there and figure out the details along the way. I do think that. Another one would be like school lunches for kids, right? Like, so in Portland, we said on Friday, our real estate team got together, Portland Real Estate Group, and said, listen, because schools had just been canceled in Portland starting on Monday. And we said, if you know school kids or children, I mean, you know, you think about this, like there's some kids that they depend on that school lunch, like that free school lunch because of their income bracket, like they depend on that free school lunch and that's their one good meal every day. Pick something that's close to your heart. Pick something you care about. Don't pick something that you don't care as much about because you're never going to put the effort into it. Now, I was a kid that when I was that age, like I was the kid who stood in that lunch line and got the free lunch. Like I was a kid that was the one good meal that I had many of those days. And we've all got our own stories and our own backgrounds. So for me, like that's a hot button. For me, I'm passionate about that. For me, I'll stay up all night making peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and fruit snacks and grilled cheeses for, you know, people's lunch the next day. Like I would do that because I care about it. And some of you go, well, that's cool to me, though I'm not passionate about it. Just choose a passion. If each of us chooses something that we have passion around, then there's enough for everybody. If each of us choose something we care about, there's enough time and attention for everyone to get it done. So what we did on Friday was we said, hey, if you know any school-age kids who can't get lunch or this affects them or a family that it affects, just drop us a line, send us a direct message. We don't know how to fulfill the need if it gets big. I mean, if it was 10 or 20 people, no big deal. I could do it in my kitchen. If it's 200 people or 2,000 people, I don't know how to fix that, though I know that I'd be willing to find a way. Like I would find a way. It's kind of like when you think about being rich, someone who's rich will tell you what you do is you find the opportunity, then you find the financing, then you find the way to put it together. Though if you don't have the opportunity, nothing else matters. So wealthy people find the need and then say, cool, now I'm gonna figure out how to fulfill it. And so we put that out on Friday night. Well, you know what? By Saturday morning, we'd had a couple of people who had good ideas. And by Monday morning, the public school system in Portland had already figured out a grand solution overall, like a universal solution. So that took that off our shoulders, though we could still do like little, you're getting my point. Choose something and put it out there. And maybe it's a hit, maybe it's not, maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, maybe the need is there, or maybe it isn't, though that's what the community needs. The community needs to see you showing up. So I want you to suit up, I want you to show up, and I want you to be there. Find a solution, find something that someone needs. Now, if you think about like here's some of my notes, right? If you think about the shift book, right? Like Gary Keller wrote the shift book, and this has nothing to do with brand or franchise. I don't give a damn who wrote the book at some point. Though on shift tactic 12, Gary said, bulletproof your transactions. And so I want you to think, all right, so all of my active sellers, all my active buyers who are either in contract or actively looking for a home with me, man, you got to run to them and play offense and not defense. So one of the things that I would have you to do is like all of your active listings, if you haven't already talked to them, and I'm sure you have by now, I would go to them and say, listen, here's our COVID marketing plan. Like, here's what we think we're doing right now. Here's the 7 steps that we're doing to make sure your home is safe and we can still list it on the market. We can still have showings. Here's what it looks like. And maybe you have to pivot and you have to go to like virtual showings. And so maybe you got to figure out what virtual showings look like. Maybe they get scheduled and you're the one person who shows the home and you walk through on FaceTime or on Zoom or GoToMeeting or whatever. Like, you could totally do that. A friend of mine, Laura in Corvallis, Oregon, just did virtual open houses this last weekend. And they're very different than just like a virtual tour, right? Like, it was a specific time, specific home. And she said, listen, I'm going to be there. I'm going to ask questions. I'm going to answer questions. If this is the home that you're interested in, just tune in. Here's the link. At 1 o'clock, I'll be there. And so maybe you do something like that. And then you have one person in the home and not 10 or not 20 or not 40. And you know what? Maybe as a realtor, you hear that and you go, nope, I don't want to do that. That's totally fine. I don't think that's right or wrong. Don't think it needs to be right or wrong. If you hear it and go, yep, I can totally do that, then great, let's go do it. And you might have one seller that says I'm uncomfortable with that and one seller who says I'm comfortable with that. No one needs to be wrong. I don't know that anybody is wrong. So maybe that's one of the plays that you could use. All right, so I'm going to get into some tactics in just a moment. Here's 2 questions that came in while we started that have been passed over to me from Lacey. So I've got 2 people in the studio, Lacey and Adrian, so thank you guys. All right, so Donna asked, just scheduled an investment seminar April 14th, should I delay? Here's my thoughts on this for delaying, right? So it's April 14th from today. You're a solid month away, right? Like, so you've got some time to make a decision on this. I would only be canceling things personally. So like in my world, I'll speak about 100 days a year live. And last Thursday, from like 7 in the morning Pacific time until noon, we canceled or had canceled 23 days of speaking engagements in like 4 or 5 hours. And so miraculously, my schedule was really open, really fast. So here's my rule of thumb on canceling things right now. I'm only looking about 3 weeks in advance, like 2 or 3 weeks. If it's something that's 4 weeks, I'm going to reassess in about a week and make a decision then. Of course, that's totally dependent on what's happening, right? Like, there's some states that have already said no gatherings of more than 10 for the next 8 weeks. Now, they could lift that depending on what happens with the virus or whatever. So I think you just got to be a little fluid there. I do think now's the time to pivot though. So Donna, if I'm you and I had an investment seminar, what I would 100% do is I would offer a virtual version of it. And I would say, listen, even if we hold it in person and you want to come to it in person, I'm going to hold a virtual version of it or have a camera set up while I'm doing it for all those who are uncomfortable, can't, or don't want to. No right or wrong, no judgment, no good or bad. We have a virtual version. So I think that you could do that as well. Another one, so Mindy said, what should a high risk agent do? So a high risk agent, you're going to have to do something different than everybody else. So if you're an agent who's high risk, it means almost everything you do, like 99% is going to have to be virtual, right? And so what you might have to do is you might have to have somebody in your office or your brokerage, and there's a whole lot of grace right now. Mindy, I'll bet you that if you know a high risk agent, or if you're talking about yourself or somebody else, if they make one post in their brokerage or one post in their marketplace, and they say, hey, I'm a high risk agent, you know, or I have a high risk for this, could someone take this showing for me, or could someone go hang this lockbox for me? I'll bet you a dime to a dollar, you'll have a dozen realtors say, I'm in, I'll go do it. If you're a high risk agent in Portland, I'll do it for you. Like, it doesn't matter. Our team will do it. I'll do it. We'll find a way. We are in this together. We're all holding hands. If you're a high risk agent in one of the 110 or 112 markets that we sell in, I'll get my partner to go do it. Even if we got to pay or figure, there's a solution. It just means that you're going to be incredibly virtual. All right, so another one, and then we'll get to the ones that I wrote. Best way to get new leads when socially distancing. So I'm gonna go into that with what I'm going to do. All right, so here's some tactics, and so it's It's a bunch. Like I've been writing these all weekend long. I was up late last night. I was up early today. Like this is exciting time, right? I saw another meme today that said if you work with an organization and the leader isn't bleary-eyed right now from a lack of sleep, go find a different organization. And you know what? I think that includes you, your community, your database. You're a leader of that as a real estate agent. Remember, like you're helping people with the biggest purchase of their life. The vast majority of them will never buy something bigger than a personal residence. Now, as an investor, we understand that investors go, hey, if your personal residence is the biggest investment you ever make, then you weren't a great investor. That's a different conversation. Today's conversation is for the majority of the public, for the majority of Americans, the biggest thing they're going to buy or sell is going to be a personal residence. And you're the fiduciary, you're the facilitator between it, you know, and the thing is like, big business, Wall Street, virtual real estate, like all these different things, it all comes back to just being real estate. It all comes back to just local relationships with local people doing local business. No matter what happens, that's still at the core. And darn it, right now is the time that you step right out in front and you lead. You step right out in front and you're bleary-eyed because you're up late finding solutions. I don't know what the solution is. I know that we're paid in proportion to the level of questions we're willing to ask. And so one of those questions is, who do I need to be right now? What's the need? And I'm going to fill it. And I wouldn't think 10 days out. I wouldn't think 100 days out. I wouldn't think a year out. It doesn't matter. What does matter is thinking right now, today. What can I do today? If you're trying to figure out something a week from now or a month from now, there's too many unknowns. Just do something right now today that you can go do. Take action. So here's a couple things. So create your video library for drips and autoresponders and responses right now. So all the people that have autoresponders or drip campaigns through like CRMs, like if you know me well, you know that I'm a giant user of Command with KW. I'm also a giant user of Sync. I use both for different reasons. And so what we're doing is we're going in and looking at all of our auto drips and we're having to change them, right? Like we're having to pause them. Now don't delete them, because the things that you did a week ago or a month ago, they might work again in a week from now or a month from now. So don't delete them, don't throw them away, though you might have to change some of the drips, like a drip that you might have had or a trigger that you might have had a week ago or 10 days ago might not work today. So you might need you definitely need some very temporary drip campaigns. And a lot of it's gonna be video, right? The good news is this, because of technology, and I mentioned this morning on the other webinar I did, technology today, anybody with a phone, an Android or an iPhone or a camera can instantly be in front of people just like this. Like the technology is there. I don't know that we could have pulled this off 10 years ago or 5 years ago, though today we can totally pull it off. And people will ask sometimes, they'll go, well, what if I don't like the way I look on video? You probably look that way in real life too. So I think you just have to get over that to a certain degree. I don't think anybody likes the way they sound on audio or video. Like when I watch a video or listen to something I've recorded, I don't like the way I sound, though the truth is that's the only voice I got. Like my mom used to say I had a face for radio. And so you're gonna have to do something. So I just think you gotta put yourself out there and just do it. Now, some tips around being virtual, some tips around video marketing. If you're gonna shoot videos and do drip campaigns via videos or conversations doing videos, here's my rule of thumb. If you're gonna do more than one take, then max it at 2. Man, I'm the guy who could take like 15 takes and I will always find something I didn't do right. And before I know it, I've spent 2 hours doing a 1-minute video that some people might watch and some people won't. Just be real. Like in real life, you don't get multiple takes. In real life, at a seller's kitchen table, you can't go, whoa, wow, I could do better than that. Rewind, watch this one instead. You can't do that. And so just be real. So my advice would be 1 take, send it. If it's perfect, great. If it's not perfect, great. You're a human being anyway, so you're all right. So that's my opinion around that. So create your video library for drips and autoresponders now. Get good on video. It's here and it's time. Get good on video. The world is going to demand video. One of the things that you could do, so here's something that I think that you could do right now. And again, this is a need, right? So like in my community, there's a whole bunch of moms and dads that have kids at home all of a sudden. Now in Portland, school's out for the next 2 weeks and then they'll reassess. Like I've got my feelings on whether that's going to be extended or not, right? In other areas like San Francisco, Seattle, others, they've already, been on break longer than that. Like said, listen, we're going to be 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks. Here's one thing that I think you could do. Always the coffee, right? One thing I think you could do right now is this: grab a school teacher in your community. So I would do one for like kindergarten through second, maybe one from second through fourth, maybe one fifth through sixth, or if you have enough relationships, maybe a teacher in each one of those grades. You know, these teachers, man, the vast majority of them by large, they didn't become school teachers for the money. You and I both know that, right? Like they work hard. And I saw another meme yesterday. It said, been home with my kids for 2 hours now being a homeschool teacher. I think public school teachers should earn $1 million a year. Like, I mean, I get that, like that's fun and funny and probably even true. So here's what you could do. So you could grab your database and say, listen, you know what? I've invited a good friend of mine who's a school teacher now for 10 years and he teaches first grade. And so you bring this school teacher, it could all be via Zoom. I mean, it doesn't have to cost anything. It can all be via Zoom, and the person you're doing this with doesn't even need a Zoom account. You can just use yours. And you say, listen, so Bill, the school teacher, Bill, what are 10 tips that my friends who are home with their first grader could do this week? What are 10 ideas? What's important? What's not important? What could they do? What should they do? And you know what? We'll be back again next week, Tuesday at 2, and we're going to give you more tips for next week. You could use that every single week while this is a challenge for us. You could do that for groups of grades or individual grades. The thing is, your database needs help. They need ideas. You know, with that being said, most gyms across the country have closed, right? So in Portland, I go to a gym called 24 Hour Fitness, and they're in like 14 or 15 states. And as of last night at midnight, 24 Hour Fitness is closed till the end of the month. And then they'll reassess and decide, do we need to stay closed longer, or can we open earlier, or whatever. And so you could grab your favorite personal trainer or a group of personal trainers. You could have one who's focused on weights. You could have one who's focused on diet. You could have one who's focused on yoga, one who's focused on whatever, right? You could grab 4 or 5 trainers in the community, all people that are probably in your database already, and say, hey, let's help everybody. Let's hop on a Zoom account, and I want you to teach people, like, what are the plyometrics you could do from home? Like, if you only have these 4 things that every household has, what could you do to stay in shape right now? Like, what could you do on your own? What could you do with your kids? Like, all kinds of ideas for this. Now, I think the important thing here is this. Even if you're the expert here, I don't think that you use yourself. So let me give you an example. Let's say that you're a real estate agent and you were a second grade teacher for 15 years before becoming a real estate agent. I don't think that you share your opinion on what second grade kids should do right now while they're out of school. I think you should still elicit support from your community and your database and say, here's a current second grade teacher, what do you think? And if you've got things to add to it, do it. Same thing, if you're amazing at fitness somewhere and you bring on a trainer, I think you let the trainer be the expert. Remember, and this is what I want you to write down, you're the connector in the community. You aren't the community, you're the connector of it. You're the person who's constantly pulling things together. I think every single person that's in your database or should be in your database gets a phone call from you right now. Now, here's what the phone call is, and people have already asked me, like, Cody, like, what's the script and dialogue? The script and the dialogue is as easy as it's ever been. Here they are. By the way, you're paid in proportion to the level of questions you ask, and this is what matters. Here's the 2 questions. How are you? And what do you need? How are you and what do you need? Every single person in your database, you give them a call and you say, you know what, I was thinking about you. I got lots of time at home right now. They're going to chuckle and you just go, how are you guys doing? How are you doing with this? Do you have the kids home from school? Are you home from work, working from home? Are you working remotely? Are you working in the office? I'm just curious, man. How are you guys doing? How are you? That's it. Let the conversation go where it goes from there, whether it's 10 seconds or 10 minutes, it doesn't matter. The other question would be, what are your needs right now? And so here's the question that I'm asking my database. So like my script would be, by the way, so I'll use John, like my pet name for role play practice is always John and Cindy. So I'll say, John, Cindy, what are your guys' needs right now? What do you need? They go, you know, blah, blah, blah. And you go, you know what? I don't know that I can fulfill every single need, though I know lots of people in the community. And as I'm talking to people all day, every day right now, helping with everything under the sun, I might be able to connect it. So what are your needs? By the way, if you can't think of one, when you do think of one, give me a call. Shoot me a message, drop me a text. If you could think of a need, I know lots of people. I might know the exact resource, and together we're all going to get right through this. So how are you and what are your needs? That's the conversation. I don't think now's the time to call your database and say, who do you know that wants to buy, sell, or invest in real estate? I don't think that's the play. I do think it's how are you and what do you need? Trust me, they know you're a real estate agent. And so if they have real estate needs, they're going to bring them up. They're going to ask you. You can always let them know, if it's real estate related, call me. If it's not, still call me. My job is the community. I don't just find homes for people, I find homes for challenges. And so all of a sudden you just become that person, right? So virtual showings, virtual open houses, we covered that one. Use real life stories. Again, I don't think now's the time to say rates are at an all-time low. I think if you have a seller, or excuse me, if you have somebody in your database who just refinanced with your favorite lender, all you gotta do is call your lender and ask, and who is it? And you go, hey, the Johnson family just refied yesterday and they're saving $175 a month. Great job, guys. I love having you one of my clients. Good work. You could do that. Like, that's so much different. That's highlighting a person rather than highlighting yourself. You can always win highlighting somebody else. Now is not the time to say rates are low, let's go buy a house. You could say, one of my friends, the Wallace family, just got into contract yesterday on XYZ home, and they were looking for a home a month ago. They were looking for a home a month ago, and they were able to buy it today for $200 less a month because of interest rates, or whatever's appropriate. You could totally play that. That's something that will play. That's up to you. Though, again, it's not about showing yourself, it's about showing the people in your database. So use real life stuff. Please, no please for business. No, somebody this morning said, blah, blah, blah. I'm still your full-time realtor. I'm still working through all this. I don't think that's wrong. I just don't think it needs to be said. I don't think it needs to be said. I think what's important is it needs to be shown. We've all heard the old adage, right? That your actions speak so loud, I can't hear your words. And so I think what's important is, what are your actions? Don't worry about what the words are. All right, so how can we task share right now? So you can go to your entire database and say, listen, how do we task share? If you've got ideas, let me know. If you know someone, let me know. Like the tasks that would show up right now. So whether it's like a handyman or a contractor, like what are the tasks that need to be done? The challenges of being at home. Another one, and I thought this was a brilliant idea. I took this from one of my realtor friends too. What they're doing is they're doing videos and they're offering, so they grab grab your favorite stager, right? Because your stager is probably kind of out of business right now too. Grab your favorite stager, always include other people. Don't do things alone, right? Like, you always include others, just like leaders never eat alone. And so what you do is you grab your favorite stager and you say, listen, you know what? My favorite stager and we're gonna do a couple of online classes or seminars. If you're curious about staging your home or putting it together, you've got all this free time at home right now. Can you imagine, just pause for a second, can you imagine all the home projects that have been put off that people are going to take advantage of and do right now? Like, they're going to be remodeling that bathroom, maybe. They're going to be retiling that wall, maybe. They've got this week at home or these 2 weeks at home or whatever. Some people would say, I'm not doing it, and many will say, I'm absolutely doing it. Somebody was telling me yesterday that the busiest store they could find in town was Home Depot and Lowe's. So maybe what you could do is you could say, listen, if you're going to be doing some home projects during this time while you're at home or hanging out or have quarantine or whatever, right? Let me know. I'll Zoom in. Don't have to come by the house. We can Zoom or FaceTime, and I'll give you my input. Or we can Zoom or FaceTime, and I'll have my favorite stager here, and he or she will give their input. Don't make a mistake today. Let me help you with what to choose, right? So that's a play. Some of you like that idea, and some don't. So adjust your auto plans. We talked about that. Delete the ones that don't matter right now, though. Don't delete them for good. Just take them off. Because there's some auto drips that you're like, whoa, I would never say that right now. Then don't. Take it off, hit pause, write a different one. You don't need a forever plan, you need a right now plan. Just a few things. Here's another one. Extensions in place. We talked about that. So get something, extensions in place. Anybody who would like it, what I'll do is, for everybody who did the webinar with me today, I'm going to send you the extension verbiage that my brokerage in Oregon used. Now, even if you're a brokerage in Oregon, this might not be yours. Get it approved by your broker. Though, if we can share something and what we wrote helps you, awesome. If you're in a different state and if what we wrote helps you, awesome. Maybe it could be a template that you still need to get approved by your attorney or approved by your broker or whatever is appropriate. Though, if it helps save you 30 minutes, I'm all in. So we'll send you a copy of what we put in place. So we have to have something, right? So Zoom with yourself, talked about that. Pre-foreclosure lists. This is a little bit touchy, and I don't know that I would spend a lot of time on it today, though pre-foreclosures are going to be a big deal again. Unfortunately, they are. I was reading an article last night about the hundreds and hundreds of thousands of jobs, and one article pointed to that upwards of 50% of all American jobs are at some level of risk right now. Again, opportunity in everything. One of the things that you might think of is putting together those pre-foreclosure lists. Now, the reason that the pre-foreclosure list is so important is this is your greatest opportunity to help someone before their home gets foreclosed. Now, this could all go away in 30 days, or this could be tougher or more difficult in 30 days? My guess is for different people, it's going to be both, right? And so one of the things that you might think of is, how do I help people? The last time that we had lots of pre-foreclosures, one of my favorite things to do was to help a seller get out of their home and sell it without having to go through foreclosure, right? Without it becoming bank owned or bank repo or whatever, right? And so you might consider using pre-foreclosure lists, or at least start compiling them. Maybe you're not calling on them right now. You're going to know when it's appropriate, though you might start compiling some of the data, right? Like, that's important. So let's go to some of the slides, Lacey, if you can, and I'm going to give you some of the ideas from some of the best thinkers in the country right now. So each one of the slides I'm putting up, and for everybody who signed up for the webinar, I'm going to email these out to you so you have them. Though these are some of my good friends that I went to this weekend, and I just said, hey, what's one idea or one saying or one thing that you would give to everybody who's a real estate agent right now? And then we'll come back to some of the things that I wrote also. All right, so I'm waiting for the PowerPoint to show up. Looks like I'm frozen. I don't know if you can hear me still or not. So now I'm back, not frozen. Do we have those slides coming up? Okay, awesome. So Lacey's working on that. All right, so I'll start going through them. So we'll go with the first one. If you can go to the play feature maybe. So Kristen Cole said this. She said, cancel all of your credit cards. Now what Kristen Cole did, and of course she's Kristen Cole Network, another expansion team. What she did was in 2008, she canceled every single credit card that she had, and she saved $170,000 a year. Now, if you're gonna do this, her advice was this, and I've done it since then too, right? I've done it on purpose, and I've done it accidentally, like accidentally. When the credit card shuts you off due to like some fraud thing or something they think, whatever, you're like, oh no. And then you realize that everybody shows up and says, hey, can you update your credit card? And you go, whoa, wait, I didn't even know I was paying for this. You know, one of the things that Gary Keller said yesterday on his webinar was go home and reduce expenses by 10 to 20%. Just go reduce expenses. You're going to have to. And in 30 days, you're going to have to do it again probably. Like, this is a shift, and this is just one of those best practices. So Kristen said, cancel your credit cards, and you'll find out how many people you're actually spending money with that you might not need to be spending money with. And for a little bit of work and a little bit of time of updating your card with everybody, you might cut out hundreds of dollars a month or even thousands of dollars a month. All right, so the next one, Lacey, is Brian Gubernick, my friend at Metrics Coaching and Training, said increase service offerings. So one of the things that he suggested, webcam, one of the things that he suggested was right now is the time that you offer more service options. So his point was, this is where you say, listen, maybe it's a sliding scale or a sliding fee, or maybe it's different commission rates with different services being offered, or maybe this type of service, this type of service, this type of service. His point is right now, I mean, we already know the consumer wants options. And this would be the right now time for when the consumer really wants options. All right, so the next one comes from Viral Marketing. So my friends, Frank at Viral Marketing, what they did was they wrote this. I thought it was an incredible email. And my guess is you could look at this email and go, I love it, copy and paste it. You could look at the email and go, I love some of it, copy, edit, and paste it, right? So my friends at Viral gave me permission to share it on this webinar. And so again, I'm going to drop this into an email for everybody who's on the webinar and send it to you. Again, this came straight from Viral. If you like it, they said use it the way it's written. If you want to change it for heaven's sakes and make it yours and then send that out. They just want to be a help to the real estate community. All right, so the next slide. This one comes from the Quinton Group, my good friend Jeff Quinton out in Jersey. He said over communicate with clients. And when I talked with him, he said, no, I mean like over communicate. He said what used to be one phone call is probably 3 right now. What used to be 1 email is probably 3. What used to just be a text message is probably a text message and then a phone call to make sure we're on the same page. Over communicate. Now, Jeff has been through shifts up and shifts down. I mean, I hope Jeff is watching right now because he's like 100 years old. He's like the oldest person I know in real estate. So he has seen every major shift. And so he knows like over communicate, over communicate. All right, so the next one comes from my friend, Steve DeLaviaga, one of the greats I know in our industry. Of course, he's with Rise Consulting and Coaching, right? He said what's important right now for him is to know what to say and say it right. Like, what are the things you're going to say, and then how do you deliver it? The way you say it, how you say it, when you say it, know what to say, and then say it right. And of course, he's one of the best ones at it. So, all right, so the next one comes from Abe Shreve. Now, Abe has been coaching me in my real estate business for, I don't know, going on 7 years now, maybe, at least 6. And so he started MAPS Business Coaching. And so Abe gave me 2. Abe gave me a personal one and a business one. And one of them was serve others daily. And one of the points he made was you find one need and just serve people. It doesn't matter if it's a meal that gets delivered, or if it's a contractor who gets hired, or it's something taken care of for someone. You find a way to serve someone every day. He said, don't let that head hit the pillow without serving someone today. And he said, furthermore, if you can serve someone who can't even help you back right now, all the better. The other was, he said this, it matters what information you allow into your head. And so he was making the point, he was saying, listen, I want you to guard what's being said around you. I want you to guard what you're putting into your mind right now. Because some of the things is this, I mean, like, like an attitude is contagious. Well, so is fear, so is anger mongering, so are all the terrible things that are out there. So be careful what you allow in your mind right now. Put a fortress around it. All right, so the next one comes from my friend, Jeff Cohn. Now, Jeff is in Omaha, one of the best agents in the whole wide world, right? So KW Elite, he said, get back to basics. And specifically, he said 80% of your time should be spent prospecting. Now, as we kind of flesh this out, talking about it for the webinar, he said prospecting today, 80% of your time might look real different than prospecting would have looked 10 days ago or 2 weeks ago, or even 10 or 20 days from today. Though he would say the principle remains the same. 80% of your day should be prospecting. Now, what you would probably do today is you'd be spending 80% of your time prospecting for needs that you can fill, for things that you can connect, for people that you could put together. And it doesn't even need to cost you money. You could spend 80% of your time looking for solutions to challenges. And if you'll spend 80% of your time looking for solutions to challenges, you're going to find plenty of people who want to buy and sell real estate. One of the greats I saw today, this one I have on my phone, so let me give you this one. It was, man, I love Mr. Rogers. He said this, he said, when I was a boy and I would see scary things in the news, my mom would tell me, look for the helpers. You will always find people who are helping. Be one of the helpers. Be one of those people that even in the scariest of times, you're just helping connect people. All right, so the next slide is from Tristan. So Tristan, my good man, good friend Tristan, who's webcam, Lab Code Agents, we will thrive by working together, not against each other. And of course, if you're a part of Lab Coat, like, you know that they work at this. We'll thrive by working together. All right, so Tristan, thank you. All right, so, and by the way, Tristan put together a whole Word doc of ideas. He'd be a good one to drop a note to. All right, so the next one is going to be, I wish I could actually do that with my hand and things would work, like maybe someday. We'll get the timing down. So Mike Fleming, Mike has coached me on the business side of my real estate career for, I think, going on 10 years now, maybe 11. He's with Maps Coaching, right? So he said, have fun with your clients, communicate, connect, and care. And he says it's the 3 C's for him. How do I communicate? How do I connect? And how do I show that I care? And again, that looks different today than it did a week ago or a week from now. So Mike said that. He's coached some of the best real estate agents on planet Earth. All right, so the next slide. This one comes from Nick Waldner out in Maryland. So he said this, he said, in times of uncertainty, mindset and attitude make all the difference. And again, he said, guard your mind, like the way you look at the world, attitudes are contagious. And he said, remember, attitude determines your altitude. Like what you think is going to determine how far you go and how high you can go. And remember, there's no polarization here. No one needs to be right. No one needs to be wrong. Your attitude is, how could I help everybody move forward? All right, so the next one. Oh, good, that's it. All right, so go back to just the camera then, and I'll go back to the stuff that I was talking about. All right, so another one. So here's one of the ones that my friend's doing, and this wouldn't be my play, though it could be one of your plays. This person loves to cook, and so what they're doing is they're already filming all kinds of like short videos of, easy recipes, like make things at home, within 10 minutes, or, easy things to find, or supplies to find right now, like stuff that's not the norm. Like some of your grocery stores look like mine, where like the whole pasta aisle is empty, right? And who knows what that looks like in a few days. The news says this or that, I don't know. And so what this person is doing is they're saying, listen, there's all kinds of stuff that grocery stores aren't out of at all. And so here's a 10-minute idea for a delicious meal. That's not necessarily my play, though it could be yours. So if it is, do that and then drop that to your database. No matter what it is, do something that matters to you. All right, so go back to all of your sellers. If you didn't hear this earlier, you got to hear this. Go back to all of your sellers and play offense, not defense. Go back to them and say, listen, here's our marketing plan right now with this issue. Here's our marketing plan around it. Maybe we're limiting people that see the home. Maybe it's a vacant home and so it's different. Maybe we have hand washing stations. I don't know what it is, though I know that you do in your market. I know that you do in your city. I know that it's your job to be on offense here and not defense. So create the marketing plan before you're asked for it. Call all of those active buyers. One of the greatest things about right now is this. Remember, so I want you to think of it this way. That which can only bend can't be broken. So are you the type of person that can only bend? Are you the type of person who is only flexible? Because if you're only flexible, you can't be broke. If you can only bend, you can't break. Be that person. So one of the things would be this. Think about Christmas time. So every year, like in October, November, I do this big webinar and I title it like Beat the Seller Scrooge. And we're going to look at it and find out which of those things would be appropriate in this market right now with the changes that are happening. Though in Beat the Seller Scrooge, one of the things we talk about is that in November and December, there's fewer buyers on the market. There's fewer sellers on the market. Now, there's lots of individual agents who say my best month every year is December. Good for you. The NLS's best month is usually not December. Like there's always seasonality. Though what we do know is this, the sellers who are there during December, are they low motivation or high motivation? Well, we know they're high motivation. The buyers that are there in November during Thanksgiving or Christmas time in December, are they low motivated or high motivated? You know they're high motivated. Like during the holidays, it's the only time that you have high motivation for buyers and high motivation for sellers that meet together and come together at the exact same time. This time looks just like that. Your buyers are highly motivated. Your sellers are highly motivated. Now is the time to make sure you're bringing them together. We're working on bringing the camera back up right now. So another one would be you could host a first-time home buyer seminar. This could be totally done virtually. You could host a first-time home buyer seminar. The greatest thing about this is that you can be saving this for data. You could be, you could be saving this for information. You could save this for content. Content is the word I'm looking for. So host a first-time home buyers seminar. Host a second home buyer seminar. Host a how to buy an Airbnb property in your market seminar. You could host these seminars, and whether one person shows up or 50 people show up, it almost doesn't matter. You could record it and you can keep it for later. You can put it in the can, if you will, and then use it for more marketing later. Though these would be great times to say, listen, we're all at home, or we've got time, or I'm offering this or offering that. Trust me, if there's a need for it, someone's going to show up for it. This is going to create wealth in our industry. I don't know how, though it's going to create wealth, and it's going to be whoever takes action. So next to my bed, I took a giant sheet of paper. Like I'm all about giant Post-it notes. If you know me, you know this. I have this giant Post-it note next to my bed, and it says, what is the opportunity in this market? And it's not the opportunity to capitalize on or take advantage of. I suppose you could, though it's not my intent. That's not my desire. My desire is what's my opportunity to serve? And by the way, if I can serve enough and if I can help enough people, do I get to earn through it? Of course. Do I get to move forward also? Yes, of course. Maybe not tomorrow, though maybe 6 months from now or 12 months from now, all the things that you do come back and pay back. Like you've heard the old saying, help enough people get what they want, you'll always get what you'd like to have too. So it could be that you do webinars around first-time home buyer, seller seminars, how to sell in this market, how to buy in this market. Like there's lots of ideas. Maybe if you have a great idea as a real estate agent or something that's working for you, maybe what you could do is you could record that and do a 2-minute video and say, listen, for all my real estate agent friends, this isn't the time to hoard ideas. Maybe this is a time that you say, hey, here's something I did last week and it worked great. Like, I don't know if it would work in a different market, though it works right now with what we're dealing with. Man, tell the world that. Tell the world that. All right, so you can create your video campaigns right now. This is a great time to be at home working on drip campaigns for later, working on all the things in your database that you've always been like, I've got to get it done, I've got to get it done, and there's just magically never enough time, though magically now the universe says, poof, you've got plenty of time now. So maybe you're at home doing that, you're building out campaigns and you're writing that. Again, get good on video. We talked about that. Virtual open houses, we talked about that. Couple of things. We designed an app, and it's called Hippo Pulse. If you want to get it, go get it. It's called Hippo Pulse, and it's for tracking all of your data. It's for tracking your activities. Great thing to use right now. It's $20 a month. We're working on a way to make it free. I don't know if we can get there, though we're working on it. I want it to be in the hands of people. If we can make it free, I'm after it. If you don't want to spend the $20, I totally get it. I understand. You can still create something like it, though you need something to keep track of what you're doing. Remember, that which can't be tracked can't be improved, so you need something. If you want to grab the app and that works for you, awesome. If it doesn't, that's okay too. Remember, you can't break what can only bend. A couple of other things would be local businesses, and I know we only got a couple minutes left. Go to the local businesses that you have. In some of your cities, the local businesses have already been shut down. So like in Portland, all the local restaurants, are being forced to only do delivery or takeout. And so maybe what you could do is call the 3 that you love the most or the 5 that you love the most and say, hey, do you have a takeout menu? Can I post it online? Can I tell my friends about it? Like maybe that's one play that you could do. There's a restaurant in Portland called Laughing Planet, and what they're doing is they're doing free meals for kids, and there's no questions asked. They say, listen, if you've got a kid who's affected by this with no school, just have them come in, or the family can come in. We don't even care who it is. No questions asked. We're going to give you lunch. And so maybe that would be a great one to send out. So you become the conduit for information. Now, you're not just copying and pasting everything, you're actually compiling information and sending it out to your database. You're compiling information and sending it out to your virtual database. This is a great time to connect. This is where you could take the Facebook A to Z. So the Facebook A to Z, I learned from my friend Ryan up in Canada. Ryan's a great agent, by the way. And so what he taught me was Facebook A to Z was you got A's, B's, C's, D's. You got 26 letters in the alphabet and you got 30 days in the month. And so every single day of the month, you would send a direct message to someone in your database. Now, if you're going to do something like this, there's some rules to it. Number one, it shouldn't be real estate related. That was true a month ago and a week ago, it's still true today. Number two, it needs to be specific. That's why you would just do one letter of the alphabet every day. This is an easy time. That doesn't mean that you can't copy and paste and just change some of it. That's called being smart. Though you would send something out every day and say, how are you? What are you doing? What do you need right now? I was thinking about you. Remember, I'm a resource for you. If you need it, tell me. I don't know if I can fulfill it, though I'll bet I know someone in the community who might be able to. So the local restaurants, like the service industry people, this would be a great play for them, an easy time. You could go, if it's appropriate, you can go to their business and shoot a quick FaceTime video or go live and say, listen, I'm over at XYZ restaurant. I've been eating here for 10 years. I love this place. And they're doing takeout today or they're doing delivery today. In some cities, this works and some it doesn't, though you got to choose where you live, what's appropriate there, though that would be an easy play. You got lots of ideas. Here's what I do know. What I know is that doing nothing isn't going to build the business. What I also know is doing the wrong thing is going to build the business the wrong way. You don't want that. This isn't the time to go backwards. This isn't the time to grab a great big sign that says, call me to list or buy. This isn't the time for that. This is the time to offer value. This is the time to give before you ever ask. And you know what? Maybe this is a time that you're just deep with your database and you go right back to the basics of human connection. That can't be beat. You know, the way that you beat the computer, the way that you beat big business, or the way that you beat big technology and real estate is you become human to more people. And this is an easy time for us to become human to more people. Now, as we're fleshing out ideas, my commitment is that we're going to continue to do these webinars for as long as this takes. If it's every 3 days or every 4 days or once a week or whatever is appropriate, somebody out there right now, there were 8 or 10 ideas I didn't share today that I think are amazing ideas, though they're brand new. Someone like just started doing it today. We don't know if it's going to work today or not. So we're not going to get a bunch of empirical data, though I didn't want to share with you 8 or 10 ideas that I was like, ooh, I don't know, this could work great or it might not. And so I'm letting those get fleshed out and we're going to bring them back. If you know of one, email it to me, tell me. We'll get it out to the people who could actually use it and move forward. The last thing would be this, reach out to your realtor community. There's a lot of conversation out there right now, and I think it's appropriate of saying, you know, a service industry like bartenders and waiters and waitresses and hostesses and hosts and restaurateurs and all that, you know, they can't work or maybe they're affected by it, webcam, or maybe they're affected by it or whatever, you know, go and support them. That's awesome. I don't know that we need a bunch of memes saying support your local realtor. I do know this. I do know that realtors can help other realtors. So if you have the wherewithal in your market to reach out to other realtors and say, listen, how do we work together? Or I could do these showings, or what could I do? Or how could I help? I want you to band together and do it. If you've got a realtor in your market, one of the things that we'll do here in Portland that we haven't done yet is if there's somebody in our market who's a realtor who's affected by the virus or can't work due to the virus, or heaven's sakes is you know, confirmed positive and it's a challenge for them or whatever, we're going to find a way to get them paid. I can't just write them a check. I don't have that kind of money. Though we can find a way to pull together. Maybe it's a group of agents that say, listen, you know what? We're going to all pitch in a few bucks to help this person. I know this. I know there's enough of us that if we each do something, then we don't need anything from anybody else. Our community can take care of itself and let other communities take care too. And so I think in your market, I think that's a good play. Go and talk to the realtors in your market. If you need something, tell me. I don't know that I can fulfill it, though I know that together we can. I know that you and I putting our heads together, we're going to find the solution. The solution exists. I might not know what it is. I don't know. Do something that scares you. Do something that when you post it and hit send, you go, I don't know if I can actually do it. I don't know if I can find a way. Do that. Take a risk, man. Push it a little bit further. Now, last ideas on the business, right? So the very last things, virtual open houses, I think you're going to be a must. Figure out how they work for you. I do think it's different than a virtual tour. A virtual open house, like you're walking through the home and you're talking about it. You're letting them know, hey, show up at 1 o'clock. I'll be live. It's interesting because when I do a live webinar versus a pre-recorded webinar, so when we use analytics and I do a live webinar, I'll get 600 or 800 or 1,000 or 1,500 people that are on the webinar, and it will tell us, like, are they actively on the webinar, or are they just turned it on and left the computer and they're not doing anything on the screen, right? Then if I send out the link, we'll see how many actually view it. For whatever reason, live still plays better rather than just, hey, record it and watch it when you want. Think about that class that you go to, right? Are you more likely to sit in the room and take notes, or are you more likely to record it and listen to it later at a better time? And you know as well as I do, a better time like never shows up, right? So live is always the play. So I think that your open houses, go live with open houses. This is the time that you show up for the seller. This is the time you show up for the buyer. And all you do is pivot. Remember, how you win the game hasn't changed. The way you play has absolutely changed, and it'll probably change a little bit more. So as you come up with ideas, send them to me. All right, so last idea or last thing I'm going to say is this. Remember, the event was canceled, you weren't. The get-together was postponed. Your business, your family, your life, your goals, your dreams, those things weren't. I don't know the answer tomorrow. I do know the answer today. The answer today is to find value that you can provide and go give it freely and give it willingly. You can't lose by helping other people. Now's your time. This is where realtors stand as a beacon in the community and say, I'm here to help. I'm here to help everybody. I don't know what all that means, though I'm in. You can't lose with that. You can't. This is the time that you become more human. All right, so we'll send out the slides that we used today. We'll send out that viral marketing email that we talked about. We'll send out the blurb that my broker wrote for an extension. Again, get that approved by your broker, for heaven's sakes. Like, disclaimer everywhere, right? Like, get it approved by yours. I know it's approved by mine, though you need to get it approved by yours. All right, I appreciate you very much. Stay strong, stay exactly who you are. This is your time. This is your moment. Do it. Help people. You'll be fine. All right, if I can help anybody, let me know. My email is codygibson@kw.com. My mobile number, well, I don't want to hand that out. Well, I could, yeah, 907-529-5172. Most of you won't text me anyway, though. 907-529-5172, codygibson@kw.com. If I could help you, let me know. We're in this thing together. I'm right there with you. Have a great day. Thanks for being here.